So to make a good speech, I heard that it should be either funny or short. I'm gonna go with short. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome you today at the 22nd ABIS Colloquium here in the beautiful city of Warsaw and online as well. We gather here today under the theme of navigating multiple transitions, and we are reminded of this theme of ever-evolving landscape of our world. A world that is increasingly complex, that is increasingly interconnected. And within the aim of the colloquium, this is what we are going to talk about: how companies, institutions, and society as such that are involved in those transitions may address global ESG challenges in a sustainable, justice, and relevant manner. But first of all, I would like to welcome all of you and thank you for being here with us. Especially, we would like to thank our corporate sponsor, company Ørsted, as well as our patronage from Embassy of France in Poland. So warm welcome and thank you for the... Throughout the conference, we have over 50 speakers that will be joining us throughout the day, throughout the next 2 days. And those include academics, policymakers, company representatives, and this blend is crucial. Academia and practice are two sides of the same coin. But we have to admit that both academia and practice, business practice, we sometimes forget about it. Sometimes we move further away from each other. And conferences like this one, like today, is a great opportunity to connect business and practice and academia. And this is so relevant that we speak with the same voice, especially when we talk about VUCA world, when we talk about BANI world. I mean, those abbreviations change very often, but no matter the abbreviation we're going to use, no matter the terminology we're going to use, we live in an uncertain and complex world, and this uncertainty has become our only constant. And our objective throughout this conference and colloquium is not only to acknowledge these challenges, but also to forge pathways through them to manage our commitment to sustainability as we have our common goal. I'm very happy that this conference is conducted at Kozminski University. Throughout this 2 days, you're going to see our mission statements. And in our mission statement, there is ethical leadership, digitalization, and sustainability. I'm going to show you, so please follow me. I'm going to show you our mission statement that is all over the campus. So those values are central to our DNA. Those values are something that we research, that we teach. So it's especially important for us as Kozminski that this conference is taking place here. I would like to also emphasize the role of business schools. We as business schools are not only here to connect practice with academia. The business schools are also the ones who educate the future leaders. It is our responsibility to teach the values, to show the values of sustainability, of social justice, of ethics to our students, because they will become the future leaders that our world so urgently needs. And this responsibility rests on our shoulders. Without further ado, as we proceed with the conference, I invite you all to engage, share your insight, collaborate, develop new frameworks, ideas, share good practices, and I'm really looking forward to your inspirational and bold debates throughout the next 2 days. So thank you, and I invite Ivo. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. What to say more? Again, welcome also on behalf of ABIS to the colloquium, multiple transitions. And thank you, Kozminski University, for hosting this conference. And it's a long tradition. I think, Boleslav, the first colloquium of ABIS, no, I think the second colloquium of ABIS.
The third, probably.
The third, which means 19 or 20.
A long time ago.
It's all
18 years ago.
But you were here, right?
Yes.
I did. So we have a very interesting tradition here at Kozminski University. Together with ABIS as good friends. And it's really inspiring to have this conference and colloquium here. It's also inspiring to prepare. We took quite some months to prepare, and it's always nice to also to work in a team. Thank you so much for that. I don't want to repeat what you said, but the word transition is already complicated. So multiple transition is a kind of terrifying thing. For me as a manager, it's like the transition is complicated change. And from the perspective of change management, it's not difficult to know where you have to go. You go from A to B. The complicated part of the change is to change your mindset, because people think in the situation A, they talk about B. Performance indicators are from A. And from this paradigm, you will never get to the paradigm of B. So the challenge of any change is how to change your paradigm into the next situation. You manage from A to B. That's a simple thing, change management. The complicated thing is not where to go, it's how to go. The transitions is even more complicated. I think even for a single transition, it's not. I think that we know a lot. So in many transitions, we know more or less where to go. We know the B situation, and we know the A. In this case, it's even more complicated. If you stay in your mindset of A, to go to the transition to B. But all the transitions are connected. Many transitions. I was last week in a conference in the Netherlands about, they call it the transformation, sounds even more complicated, of the healthcare sector. And there they find out, so our scope is too narrow. We need to broaden our scope, which makes it even more complicated. So since the transitions are connected, there's an additional complicated thing here, because it's difficult to find out what is the situation. That's also the question. In multiple transitions, we don't know exactly what is the situation. So here we have the complexity of the process. Is it possible to manage multiple transitions, or is it only possible to orchestrate this? And what is the design for the B situation? It means that it's time, and I think this conference, this colloquium, will address all those topics, is to think about transitions, to have this more holistic view, to have the ethical part, the just part. Try not to, I think not to manage it, I think that's impossible, it's a complexity. Try to have this overview of how to navigate, how to orchestrate the complexity without simplifying the transitions. And I trust that there will be many inspiring sessions with many speakers, many perspectives, and I wish you very inspiring and say many lessons learned during those days. We have plenty of time to talk during the coffee break, gala dinner, etc. So not only the sessions, but also the concept of being together, networking, and try also to go into what I'm doing and how. Thank you.
Officially move into the content. We have to manage also the online audience also with us. It is my pleasure to introduce our opening keynote speaker, Paweł Nizinski, CEO of Keynote Poland and CEO of Better, and partner at NOW.Partners. And his speech will focus on transforming business and integrating sustainability in its DNA. So welcome, Paweł. Thank you so much. And I think you need to come in and take a seat.
I want to say, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I was really touched by Professor Rock, my old friend, who asked me to bring you a few words from slightly different world, because I still think that there is a difference in perception of ongoing changes and transitions in academic world and business world where I come from. And I was asking myself, what would be my contribution? Because I'm always very humble to the academia, and this is the way I was raised. So, okay, with whole modesty, I'm bringing you a perspective of a person who has a very simple biography, first of all. The first part of my life I spent with building very competitive advertising industry in Poland. So I'm a typical ad man, if you recall the TV series, but only for the first half of my life. Then there was an important pivotal point, and I started to work with sustainability. That was not from one day to another, but all of a sudden it's more than 16 years already. And I'm a partner, country partner for B Corp movement in Poland. Probably for some of you, this name is known. This is the movement of people, leaders, businesses, which are using business as a force for good. Sounds like a serious oxymoron, that business is using the capital of business for the good cause. I mean, already, even myself, I look at that with great care, and I'm a bit suspicious to this. So what can I share with you just to let you see slightly different perspective than from academia? My idea was to give you a few thoughts, a couple of examples, so at least the perspective of another non-academic, necessarily academic world is being shared. So I'll try to say a few words about this, where we are now. I try to refer that to a couple of stories. They are sometimes more important than basic facts. And I'm afraid there is one conclusion, and probably you already know what it is. But let me start. This world of problems is super convergent, and it doesn't matter what kind of research you take or what kind of analysis you take under the magnifying lens. It always looks super complicated, and if you are so idealistic, as some people are, to change the world, to improve the situation for the coming generations, you really don't know where to start, because whatever you pick as your task, you try to change, it doesn't work. You have to think holistically, but how the hell we would do it holistically when it is so complicated? I think that this is being shared, and this is being shared with this kind of summary, that our achievement of the last 50 years is extinction of numerous species and really destroying the planet. So for some people, and even for people who sometimes deny the climate crisis, it's known that day by day we are shrinking the universe we were brought to. We are killing species, we are killing the nature, we are killing the planet. And some people in business world realize that there is no business on that planet. It's a very simple conclusion. I will not have my P&L when there is nobody to buy my things. Very simple conclusion. I mean, very kind of basic. So it looks, and I think it beautifully resonated in Ivo's intro. It looks like we know why we should get into the transitions. We should get into the systemic change. But now there is a big question: how are we going to do it? And I think that yes, many milieus, many communities realize that the change is needed. But the real script, how to get from point A to B, is kind of unknown. There is a lot of goodwill behind. People sometimes, they're quite idealistic, also in business world. But how are we gonna go into the right direction? We feel that there are some non-goes, that some of the things we've done wrong. But are we really getting there? This is the fundamental question. Why the hell it takes such a long time? I have some people I really pray to. One of them is a chairwoman of Club of Rome, Sandrine Dixon-de-Clercq. And if you look what she was opening our local B Corp conference last year and the year before. She's like permanently present in person. If you look at these 50 years of alarming the world that we should focus on degrowth, we should do this and that, limit, find solutions here and there. And we are ending after 50 years with a book which is saying basically the same things as the one written in 1972. Then there is something fundamentally wrong, probably in a systemic response to these alarming voices, because these voices are coming from everywhere. So what is wrong with us? I mean, there is a big problem with our responsiveness. Club of Rome is coming with a survival guide for the planet. If we have these 5 turnaround points, and I would encourage you to have a look at this book, because it's, I think it summarizes the point where we are, doesn't bring like fixing answers, but it's opening new paths for discussion, for the navigation probably. But do we really navigate? Are we on this stage that we are already navigating the change? I think that we are eventually trying to respond to the changes and see, we are like this little piece of cork on the waves, and we try not to drown. So this is probably where we are. I'm afraid we are still not navigating. We desperately try, but are we getting there? So if we find answers in these 5-10 turnarounds and good scripts, probably we can mitigate the negative trends. But are we really getting there? We know all these things. As another hero of mine, another fantastic woman, for this time from US, Hunter Lovins, she says, we know all this stuff. We know that 100 entities are responsible for 70% of all greenhouse emissions. And we know that Saudi Arabia is making $1 billion a day for not getting involved into the change. $1 billion a day. I mean, these figures are super alerting. I think that, and again, I agree with Hunter, and it's very close probably to not only to my family. We tend to say that we are not trees, we are grass. And if we were trees over the history, we would probably broke. But when you are grass, you bend. And then after a difficult time, you turn to get back to the proper shape and you will survive. So probably this is our strategy to be undertaken. Sandrine says that, and this is really nice, very, very simple description of our world. The world has proved to us that can eat us. COVID, when if we were following Harari, we would feel so immune and so fantastic that no virus or bacteria will kill us. No, it can kill on a big scale. We have a crisis, like knocking to our door, pretty everywhere. We have conflict. We have huge war taking place, not only from February 24th, but we have war going on permanently in every corner of the world if we have this global view. So we have enough to really to worry about, but also there is this positive scenario, the people who want to guide the transition, they have in mind. We have to serve our people, next generation and contemporary people who are 8 billion of us on the planet. We have to protect the planet, but this is, excuse my words, it is bullshit. The planet will survive. We are struggling to protect our lives, not only the lives of any other species. We will be extincted probably, and the planet will survive. But we try to be optimistic and also to have resources for saving people and planet. We have to protect prosperity, because if we have resources, we have power to try to navigate the change eventually. So we see the different ideas emerging over last decades, and some of those probably are familiar to you. We have Porter and Kramer somewhere 2011 about new idea about value creation and shared value. We have United Nations SDGs. We have stakeholders capitalism idea. We have conscious capitalism. We have donut economics, Green Swans by John Elkington, Natural Capital Institute, again, Hunter Lovins, Tech for Good, like numerous ideas. We are quite good in generating ideas over the history of humankind. But are they sufficient? Are they really strong enough to move the global population towards the real shift? Last but not least, we have diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And with this shift, we may change the culture. When we change the culture, we may change the systems. So I think that we are in, this is kind of outdated term, metaxu, and I'm sociologist by education, and I love dig out something from the 80s, when I was still in academia. And metaxu is kind of being in between. So you are kind of present in one paradigm and in the other at the same time, at the same moment. This is really interesting. If you recall Simone Weil, for instance, this is their reality. You are present in the two at the same time. How to survive this? Because it's super frustrating, because some part of your life is within old system and you are exposed to the impact of the things which are not necessarily nice. You would love to be the new reality, full of sustainable approach, regenerative economy, and probably stakeholders capitalism. So we are in this kind of, it's still not a pivotal point, I'm afraid. This is like coexistence of two systems, of two paradigms. But I'm sure that the change is happening now. The scale of change, the scale of involvement of the global leaders in business, and not only, is massive. And it's really growing very, very fast. Just one chart. I thought that if I do the presentation without a chart, I think you will miss something. So you need a bit of data, do you? There was a study by the Future Boardroom Institute, quite recent, I must say, in importance of sustainability knowledge in the new board members' recruitment. It matters a lot, 80%. So it means that the survey done with amongst leaders, they acknowledge that without this knowledge, without this data, without the science, we are nowhere. We will not move any further. So how to do it? I think that there are some trends which are supporting the shift towards the new paradigm. Human nature is somehow, at least for me, remember, I'm an ex-admin, people are behaving according to trends, and this emerging trend of sustainability is pretty everywhere. If you recall your conversations with friends over the last 2 weeks, I'm sure you will get at least one conversation about sustainability, about climate crisis, and many others related subjects. So it's pretty everywhere. But what does it mean? What kind of consequences you have? Oh, yes, you have the business consequences. You have also incredible growth of popularity of the products. For instance, in retail, that people try to spend the money with the idea that they support sustainability. So they buy sometimes premium goods, but with positive impact. So this is really interesting because with this trend, we can build a lot. But the question is it sexy enough? Because, I remember this old anecdote, probably you've heard it 100 times, that there is a couple discussing that, and the wife goes, do you really want our marriage sustainable? And I think that we would like to have our marriages hot, not sustainable. I mean, so are we talking radically enough? I think that we need really bold, strong statements. Well, I think that there are some, and what could I bring to you then? the area where I'm in, and I'm trying to help the movement as much as possible, not only. B Corps, familiar to some of you, are using business as a force for good. What does it mean? That, first of all, that means that this is the most important thing. That means that we will have different idea about our impact. Instead of doing less bad, we think, okay, how we can do much more good. It's a fundamental shift in mentality. It converts into the business models. If we have more impact-led business models, we are really contributing to the transformation, to the transition. We are B Corp 2. We are signing this declaration of interdependence. This is a beautiful text. I don't ask you to read. You can dig it in the web. We don't have time for that. But the whole idea is coming from understanding of the situation where we have something happening at the food market in China, and then it has an impact on the whole world. We have something happening in economy in the corner of the world, and all of a sudden the whole world is cracking. We are super interdependent. Not to say that we are on this little spaceship with 8 billion people on it, with shortage of the resources, etc., etc. You know the story. So what does it mean for the B Corps to be in the reality which is interdependent? Well, it converts in a completely different performance. Very recent study from UK market. I know that this is biased. UK has 1,500 plus B Corps on the island, whereas globally we have 7,600 something. Every day is changing. 7,600 B Corps in the planet trying to build the positive impact story, to build the impact models, business models. What does it mean when they perform according to the rules set by B Corp certification? Well, they have significant growth when you compare to the similar companies, but non-B Corps. They have lower attrition. They have more strategic approach. They do have strategies. I was surprised to see that some companies might not have a strategy. Then they have easier access to capital, easier access to funds for R&D. Like, these figures say something. Maybe this format of being good for the planet and society is a very positive climate or positive model for doing the business. The name of this new game is interdependence. We have a beautiful word współzależność, and this is a fun fact or test for you. Try to pronounce it. I knew the reaction is going to be like that. But this interdependence is something which is over-dominating leaders in Europe and globally. We start to understand that we are so interrelated. And with Professor Rock, we were lucky to participate for Poland on the summit, which was in Rome in 2022, where you had 700 leaders from different levels of business and different companies, from huge corporate to small, medium enterprises, through academia, through politicians. Last year, the meeting took place in Amsterdam. There was already 1,400 leaders over there. There is a huge cooperative of leaders emerging out of that. If you imagine that on the planet we have the companies which start to build an ecosystem, collaborating with a good cause, and not purpose washing, but really making the change, I think that this is really important fact. We signed a declaration which converts the declarations into the real actions. I don't want to elaborate on that, but I wanted to turn your attention on these emerging movements here and there. And this is not the only one. This is just an example. There are plenty of these initiatives on the planet. So literally, something is going on. We are really getting together and getting into the first, I think, trying to understand what the hell is going on and how we can find our place. We still don't know where this point B on the transition is, but we definitely don't want to stay in point A. because point A means the system which is not responsive to the challenges of our times. This convergent picture I have shown at the beginning, our system doesn't respond. So if I say Patagonia, you probably know what I mean because it's broadly known brand. If I say Too Good To Go, some people from the Nordic part of Europe, also from Italy, might know. So these are the initiatives which are focused on building business, which is super focused on positive impact. But I want to say really very briefly, as I see that the time is ticking, 4 stories. One is actually proving that, yes, we can do it. Some 2 years ago, I was on the meeting of something which is called Regenerative Alliance. And we met in Brussels, near Brussels, in a property of 200 hectares, not really huge, but rather big. And the owners of this property 10 years ago realized that they have enough resources and enough knowledge to protect something which was in hands of their family for centuries, to really to protect this piece of nature when they are going to provide the succession project for the next generation. So they analyzed what's the ground, they went organic, and they discovered that under the property you have a huge lake under the soil, and the whole lake is intoxicated with our fertilizers. And probably this is the situation of water pretty everywhere in Europe, including Poland. So this is the bad news. And they analyzed, they took the specialists from agriculture, from regenerative agriculture, from US, from Brazil. They introduced the programs. And over 10 years in the property, you have a huge, really exponentially growing biodiversity. New species turned up all of a sudden. And also they succeeded to clean the lake totally. So 10 years is enough. Regenerative agriculture. The second story, the romantic story. Just imagine 2 students, a girl from Lithuania and a Pole. They met in UK, and they were missing the grandma's juices and healthy food. And I can hardly imagine a student who is missing healthy food, but they were quite unique. And they didn't have money. They started law and business, and they found this little corner shop with fruits. And they observed that every single day they're wasting like kilograms and kilograms of fruits. So they started to take it and produce juices for themselves, then juices for the department, then for the academia, then for the neighboring schools. They are operating now on 9 markets with juices which are saving the fruits normally to be wasted. Coffee. I'm a huge coffee lover, and sorry, I couldn't quote it. If you recall, this is called Coffee Belt. Here, the coffee is produced on our planet. Apparently, the coffee is being mostly consumed over there in our countries where we don't have enough sun, and we really need something to wake up and start living. But funny enough, if you recall the fair trade model gives 8 to 12% of the value chain to the green bean producer. Is it really fair trade? My colleagues from Holland said. Well, not. This is bloody. I will stop my language. So what they decided, they said, okay, so we do the revolution here. We're not that greedy if we say, okay, 50-50. Still, is it business-wise okay? They said, okay, we are building the roasting factories in Ethiopia. We have an access to super selected beans. We have a super premium coffee. With one investment of this size, we are having 700 jobs created like that. And we have a fair chain coffee model. And maybe we are fighting that because we are building jobs. We are building investments over there where the people want to escape every single day. So you have roasting and packaging in Ethiopia and marketing and distribution and sales in Rotterdam and Amsterdam. And this is bloody good coffee too. First, third chain coffee, which is really changing the world. I strongly recommend, you can get it online easily, very tasty. So that was advertising break, but they realized that this is aid for Ethiopia. They have a lot of space to enter if they provide with the good resources and business models for the people living in Ethiopia. Okay, the last one. How does it work in finance? For some of you, Triodos rings a bell, I see.
Quite, yeah.
Yeah, and to me, that was real breakthrough because when I got to know that there is a bank operating cross borders, mainly Western Europe and not only, they work globally, which says, okay, they have all the products, they have loans and so on and so on, they have their foundation, why not? But you have a bank which has a regenerative money counter. So literally, if you have an idea how to restore the soil, you come there, you say, hello, I have this little idea. And they say, okay, here is money. So you say, what should I pay back? No, no, thank you, this is for you. So what kind of KPIs they have to build up such a business model? That means that their idea about the prosperity and the business model is much broader than these short-sized financial products. There is an idea to build up our financial systems after observing the nature and trying to clone the processes which are taking place in the nature into the financial world. Challenging, you know? The conclusion is simple, and I know that I run out of time. Sorry about that. Either we understand interdependence and hopefully mitigate the negative trends, or nobody will survive on the planet. It sounds alerting. It will take time until we are kicked out from the planet. Probably it's not our life, but who can guarantee that it's not the future of our children or grandchildren? It's going really fast. So the conversion, I think, should go very, very simple. I'm a graphic designer by my second education, and typography was my really focus on interest. Just imagine that you convert one letter. It's really simple. If we change the perspective and we stop being egoistic, we can go from ego to echo. It sounds simple, but we gradually are getting tools to do that. And let me finish with words from my beloved hunter. She's a hunter by profession as well, and the fireman and the thinker. Really recommend to dive to internet. Probably we feel alone trying to convince the world that it should really go different direction, and we feel that our voice is not heard. But just imagine the last thing. I'm just one person, said 8 billion people. Thank you very much.
Is there any question? One. I saw the lady in green. Joanna, please.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I really like these examples of green startups and so on. But what can a B Corp movement offer to large internationals who are not, Patagonians of this world, but need to transform?
It's really difficult, but and it causes loads of problems, doubts, because we obviously know that the main guilty ones for this situation we are now are the biggest ones, and it concerns the huge corporates who sometimes have much more capital than some of the states on the planet. So we know where the problem is. Now, how to change the huge organization. It takes time, but we observe an interesting tendency because B Corps is not a concept for small, medium enterprises. You have Danone, you have Nespresso, who finally, after very hard work and being compostable cups for the coffee, they are now green. It took them 5 years to develop that. But I think that the managers everywhere, the leaders everywhere, regardless if it is the small, medium enterprise or this is a huge corporate, they have also their mindset, which is changing, and they would like to have better work. Sometimes they are just functioning in the systems, which is imposing on them some shortcuts and directions and decisions, some micro decisions, which cause more problems than profits. Yes, we are all aware of that. But this idea of B Corps and the certification and the model allows more than 100 algorithms of going through the transition. Because in fact, the journey, which starts with the impact assessment audit, is a beginning of the journey. So any company you are, you will have your own journey, much more demanding for the big corporate. That's why it takes much more time for them to change, to introduce processes. And what is interesting about B Corps, this is not the declaration-based. This is performance-based. Because we can have golden lips and say plenty of beautiful things to the world, that we are so good, please buy my things. This is not the case. B Corps are checking very carefully and auditing every single step of the business life of the company. And if you ask about the big corporates, yes, sometimes there is a brave decision of a leader like Emmanuel Faber with Danone Group, and they are going through the certification, all of the Danone initiatives on the planet. And gradually we observe that all the big guys, P&G, Unilever, are getting closer and closer. They start with purchasing the companies which already have a B Corp certification, which is a good step. And funny enough, they don't break them. They observe the processes and they learn. Well, it will take time. I'm impatient too. I would love to have it much faster, but well, I'm super happy that the processes are in place. Thank you for the question. Thank you for your patient listening.